Hi guys, my name is Nangela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today on this video, I just wanted to do something about or a video about what Baloyi is trying to do with everything that he's busy doing. I'm gonna do videos that are going to speak directly to each and every aspect that he is trying to deal with. Number one, what Baloyi is trying to do. Okay, let me say what is the state uh, is trying to do right now. Their interest is improving the defense lawyer credibility and appointment, right? In law, the state has no interest in doing that, by the way, unless confession is under threat, right? The only reason the prosecution would suddenly care about whether the lawyer is was credible, whether he was properly appointed, whether he met with the accused, whether communication existed is one thing. To protect the admissibility of the confession, but because you will remember that Judge Ratamufateng said, I ruled them in. I ruled them in admissibility for now. But by the time the verdict comes, he will decide whether they go in with the verdict or not. So right now, what Baloyi is trying to do is to fight to make sure that everything goes in, every evidence goes in, including the one bargaining chink that they have, which is the so-called confession of Undanzi. They are trying to preempt the argument that the accused was isolated, denied legal representation, coerced, or induced into confessing. That's what he's trying to do. So instead of proving voluntariness directly, they are trying to manufacture an environment that appears constitutionally compliant. That's what Baloyi is busy doing this week. But here is the fatal problem, though. The state cannot cure an unconstitutional confession by retroactively validating a lawyer. That's where the issue is. Number two, why Baloyi is putting things on record instead of engaging, because what he's doing is not engaging with Undanzi. He's supposed to be doing cross-examination, and that is exactly not what he is doing right here, right now. So my observation is that I think I'm very 100% accurate, just like everybody else who's noticing that this one is not a cross-examination, but rather Baloyi reading things into the record. So Advocate Baloyi is not testing credibility. He is building a paper trail. Why is he doing that? Because previously, when it was Gwabini phase, if you remember, the court blocked him for relying, the defense tried to block him from relying on unproven statement. And he jumped ahead of evidential foundations. So now he is trying to lay groundwork first so that when he returns to the confession, he's still going to go to that. In case you are not aware, he can say the context is already on record. That's what he's trying to do. You guys can see that. He's being very sneaky there. This is a classic prosecutorial sequencing, but it only works if the groundwork is lawful. And here in this case, it is not. The way he is doing things are very questionable. The third point that I want to come through is the cell phone problem. The state walked into a constitutional trap there. I don't think with real realization, but I think other things, they are seeing them now as they are busy maneuvering everything. This is where the case is seriously unraveling. And it unravels live on national television worldwide. People are watching and they're like, we want to see where is Baloyi going to take this whole situation. By trying to prove, please call me messages, contact with family, contact with the lawyer, the state has accidentally considered covering devastating points. A, illegal possession of a cell phone in custody. I don't know if they are noticing that or they are just doing the things. And also, if the accused had a phone while detained long enough for to contact multiple people, then someone failed their legal duty, SAPS or correctional services, but someone failed here. In fact, in this case of Ndanzi, SAPS failed because how dare you let an accused person be in police cells without being searched for a cell phone? There was a time he was inside a boardroom. They told him to take off his clothes. Do you remember that evidence? He took off his clothes, yet this person, again, we are expected to believe that Undanzi had a cell phone with him. Come on, class, there is no way. There is no way. This is not a neutral evidence. It is evidence of systematic illegality at its best, if you ask me. B, due process is collapsing. The moment Baloyi suggests he had access, he had access to people. Do you understand what he means? Therefore, no violation. Okay. He actually proves the opposite, and he's not even aware. I love how God works in mysterious ways, because everything that he puts on record is gonna come back to bite him. And he's not even understanding that because he is busy with his own thing. Right now, he actually proves the opposite. Communication was unmonitored. Rights were exercised outside legal channels. Illegality cannot be used to validate legality. There, he's totally wrong. Whether Judge Ratuyatanda or not, but that's exactly that. The point C of that situation, chain of custody has broken. You are saying to us as Baloyi, if a cell phone was seized, reassessed, returned, or handled by investigating officers, then the chain of custody is irreparably compromised because something is not right with what you are saying. And that means downloads are questionable. A timestamp are contestable. Authenticity is vulnerable. There's a lot of things that need to be questioned here. And this is textbook exclusion territory because it doesn't make sense. Okay, and then point number 4, the lawyer appointment issue is also a big deal. The state overreached here badly. I don't think they understand what they are doing. This is one of the most strongest things that have happened. This is one of the worst, strongest things that have ever happened. Where is the letter of appointment for Umjiako? The state produces a withdrawal letter, paraded LPC witnesses, and also positioned itself as the custodian of the lawyer's legitimacy. That is constitutionally dangerous because the state does not appoint defense lawyers. The state does not administer defense mandates. The state does not supervise defense ethics in criminal proceedings. By doing so, they have led separation of roles, invited claims of constructive interference. And that strengthened the argument that the lawyer was not independently chosen by Undanzi. That is what he is doing, and he is not even aware of it. That is a fatal situation or a fatal ground or breaking ground for the confession reliance. We can rely on the confessions if those are the basis. I don't think he realizes that. And also, professional ethics contradiction is happening here. Please call me is quite absurd. It's absurdity of it at its best, because tell me, why would Umjiako send Ndanzi Abo, please call me? And also when it comes to this situation, if a lawyer receives multiple please call me messages from a detained accused on a private cell phone, then ethical questions explode when it comes to that. Why is the lawyer calling back? Why is the lawyer calling back directly? Why didn't you report illegal activities or access? Why didn't he insist on formal constitution? Why is there no official constitutional record? Either the cause never resulted in any constitution, in any consultations, or the lawyer participated in an unlawful communication chain. Both options damage the state, not the defense. Both of them. And the metaphor that I'm using in this situation is legally perfect. The pot is contaminated. There is absolutely nothing that we can do. Too many hands, too many interventions, too many undocumented steps. By now, evidence is overdosed. It is drunk. It is high. Do you understand? Narrative contradicts, timelines don't align, and witnesses are becoming defensive because the situation is so dire to an extent that everyone is getting cover for each own. That is not confidence, that is exposure. And that is exactly what is happening here. And now this feels like they didn't expect it to go this far because they didn't expect the entire case to be where it is by today. They thought it was something that was going to end 2020, 2021, sometime there. This case was built on pressure, expectation of quick closure, and assumption of non-resistance. What is happening now is not what they expected. But once the scrutiny arrived, they shot every shortcut surfaced. Every procedural breach became visible. And now the system is defending itself, not the truth. And yes, everything is just bad now. Now, this is not about personalities. This is about who killed Senzo Meyiwa. If the process is rotten, the outcome will never bring peace. Not to the Meyiwa family, not to the public of South Africa, not to the justice system. That is all there is to it. What the state is currently achieving is not strengthening its case. It is consenting rights violation, exposing custodial failures, undermining chain of custody, and entangling itself in defense lawyer legitimacy, which is not its role. That is why answers are thin, tempers are short, and repetition has replaced substance. That is why we are where we are today, because once legality collapses, no amount of narrative can rescue it. So that is the issue that we have with the Senzo Meyiwa case currently, especially with the Ndanzi issue and the so-called conversion and everything that has to do with was Mjiyako a legitimate lawyer or not. What are your thoughts with all of this? Let's talk in the comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. I will see you on our next video. Bye-bye.